Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 420. I am so excited for today's guest. We have back on the show Jay Hartenbach, who is the founder of Medterra CBD, my favorite clean CBD company. Jay, we had you all the way back in episode 300, and we're in the 400s now, so it's been a while since we had you on the show. I can't wait to hear what's happened since we've had you on the show, and also how your company is staying in business to supply us with the needed CBD we need to keep our sanity, because it's so great for anxiety. It's so great, hemp. Cannabis is so great for keeping people calm and helping them. It's very medicinal. And you have a very clean form of CBD that doesn't trigger tests if someone were to go get tested for THC, which we talk about in detail in episode 300. So I recommend listeners check that out. And now Jay gives us a fantastic discount, gives the listeners 15% off by using coupon code LTH. So we can go to medterracbd.com and use coupon code LTH for the listener discount. Jay, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me back, Ashley. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. You are in social isolation.
That is correct.
And your company has been making some major transitions for ensuring that that everyone is safe, that your customers are safe when they receive your products, that your employees are safe. So I'd love to go through all this information. So welcome back to the show. And first of all, we'll definitely hear what has been happening in the world of CBD since we had you on the show in episode 300. But right now, I know that your company has been taking this really seriously, the COVID-19 really seriously. You guys are in Southern California. What is your company doing to create social distancing and to make sure that everything is sanitized so that everyone's healthy, both your customers and your employees?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think companies have a huge responsibility here. And as the founder and the CEO of Medterra, you can impart a lot of change. And with something that can be viral, literally viral, even though we may only employ 70 or 80 employees, there's a huge responsibility because those 70 or 80 employees, if sick, could go and infect a lot more people and kind of create this cascading effect. So we made the decision 2 weeks ago to shut down the office entirely. So we've sent all the employees home, just except for the few fulfillment employees that we have that are now going to be leaving tomorrow. And so they're going to just be able to go on kind of a permanent leave, basically a paid vacation, which is, it's good for them, but they've worked so hard over the last, really month. So I think they more than deserve it. But we've been able to send everyone home, and it's been a huge transition for us as a company because we have been so close for the last 3 years and working with each other. And, you've got a lot of friendships that have developed, and now everyone being remote, we were really worried about just the productivity, but just also the morale. I think there's a lot of concern in the environment of, what's going to happen with the economy. And so, it's been really reassuring to see, you've got employees that are tagging each other on social media, making them do challenges from their house. And we've stayed really, really connected. And in some ways, I think we've actually become even more productive, and the communication has been even better because you're forced to do so. You can't not, kind of communicate, because the only way to do it is to actually, send them a message or a video chat. So we have made that decision, and it's great to see other companies also making that decision to shut down the office and send everyone home.
So you have like a 40,000 square foot office, I think you said, in Southern California. And how are you doing fulfillment then if everyone's going home? So if someone orders your products, are they not going to get it for the next 2 months, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the fulfillment staff that has stayed there really for the last 2 weeks, like you had said, it is a very big space. So social distancing is very possible in the Medterra office when there's only 6 employees doing fulfillment. And what we've also been able to do, and this is just us growing and maturing as a company, starting to work with other third-party logistic companies spread out throughout the United States. So our business, fortunately, has grown a lot larger than even when we last spoke. And so the need for these different warehouses across the United States is very important. And they are very, I should say, prepared to handle these types of situations. So just like what we were doing in the Medterra office, where every order that we were sending out, we were just wiping down as an extra precaution for our customers. These third-party logistic warehouses and companies that we work with throughout the U.S. are doing the same. And that just allows everything to kind of stay and run smoothly. We work with 3 different shipping partners, UPS, FedEx, and USPS. So orders are going out on time and they're being delivered. And in some cases, actually being delivered faster because we're moving some of that shipping to our East Coast warehouses as opposed to having to ship everything from California.
Awesome. So everything's sanitized. You are paying your employees to stay home during this quarantine, which I love. I love to hear that, people are able to keep their jobs, and they will of course be loyal to your company for doing that. You help them, they're going to help you. So that's I love seeing that you're not like just hanging them out to dry. And then and now, what did you mean by challenges from home? How can you give me some examples of how your employees have been challenging each other from home?
Yeah, so just, I think everyone's seen the push-up challenge or tag a pup. And so that's kind of gone viral on Instagram and social media. And now I'm starting to see employees saying, where they used to have at 2:00, they'd go get a shot of espresso together to kind of beat the kind of afternoon, kind of slow down. They're now doing it remotely. And it's just fun to kind of see it. We are fortunate enough we've got a very nice gym in the office. And now that everyone is not able to use that, it's the same thing. You've got people tagging each other and making them do home workouts. And it's just funny. And there's also the challenges of working from home. I think it's not a true conference call when people are working from home unless one dog barks, right? Or you have one child in the background. So, that's been kind of fun, just kind of seeing everyone's, what they look like at home. But like I said before, it is just incredible. I think we are so fortunate to have employees that truly believe in what we're doing as a company. And that's why it's so easy to take care of them, because they just are, whatever adversity we give them, right? The CBD industry just in general, I think, has had a lot of adversity. Obviously, this has thrown another kind of layer of challenges on, and just seeing how the employees are responding is incredible. I sent a message actually out to the team earlier today, and I said, if we had to start from scratch, I have no concerns, because this is the team that I would do it with. And I truly mean that. I mean, there's a lot of great CBD companies, but I really think that the Medterra team in particular is a special group, and just excited to continue to work through them no matter what the challenges present themselves to be.
Absolutely. Now, in our first interview, episode 300, we talked about the quality of Medterra, about how you really work hard to make sure that the hemp that you derive the CBD from is really high quality and medicinal, doesn't have, pesticides, that you have a filtration system so that you extract the CBD without the THC. So there's a lot that goes into the production, and listeners can go back to episode 300 to hear about that. We also shared a really interesting story about, I think it was a friend's father or grandfather who had Parkinson's. And when he took the CBD, his shaking reduced or went away when he took it. Any updates on him?
Yeah, continues to use the product, and just so that we're friendly with our friends at the FDA, certainly not endorsing it as a treatment for that. But, I can say that, confidently that he has, included that in his daily regimen. And that's, I think going back to that point of having employees really believe in the company, every one of our employees has some type of personal connection to CBD, whether it's a family member or a friend that has seen the benefits, or themselves individually have seen the benefits. It's really easy as a CEO of a company to motivate people when you already have that type of product. So it's exciting. And so, yeah, that's one of the cases. Because of that case, actually, and a couple others, we've created this Medterra Assist program where there's people that, based on either a disability or just being older and on a limited income, or any type of service member, so military, police, fire, we give a significant discount, sometimes up to 50%, depending on the condition, so that they can get access to these products. Because even though we try to keep our products as fairly priced as possible, they still are expensive. And so, those cases, make it worth it for us. And so we try to help where we can.
Absolutely. Well, it's an expensive process to go through to make a CBD isolate that is clean, safe, and healthy. So you're making a high quality product, and sometimes you have to pay more for quality, right? You get what you pay for, especially in this industry. And I love that you're providing a big discount for those who really need it but can't afford it. That's fantastic. It's like you could almost create kind of like a charity program or something, like on the side. So what has happened in the last, I think it's been about a year and a half since you've been on the show. What's happened in Medterra CBD in the last year and a half? How have you guys grown? What kind of science, what kind of studies have come out? I'd love to hear what you guys are doing now.
Absolutely. Yeah. A year and a half feels, I think, like 3 or 4 years or maybe 5 years. So much has happened. When we talked last, which was, yeah, like you said, a year and a half ago, we were in a 3,000 square foot office, and we had 10 employees working with us. And
That's awesome.
now we're like I said, in a 40,000 square foot space, and we got just under 80 employees working with us. And it's just been incredible to kind of see that growth. And a lot of it, I think is a compliment to the team and executing, but it's also just being a part of such a fast growing industry. And, when we talked about, we really were focused on isolate, and we were really focused on CBD. And, that was, I think, our mission as a company. And now, a year and a half later, CBD is still our primary mission. But what we've recognized as a company is that there are other ingredients beyond CBD that can be powerful. And so our goal is not to deliver the best CBD product, but just to deliver the best product in general. And so we're now working on really cool blends that take other natural ingredients to really enhance that efficacy. And, we're just launching this new gummy line right now where, gummies can be a great way to deliver CBD because it's in a friendly format, and customers and consumers like gummies. And if that helps them get on a regular regimen, then I'm all in favor of it. But just not selling a CBD gummy that's got high fructose corn syrup and, is loaded with gelatin and isn't vegan friendly. Ours are pectin based and all have additional ingredients, whether it's our Keep Calm or our Sleep Tight gummy or even our Stay Alert gummy. They all have these different ingredients to ultimately give a more efficacious product to the consumer, which is what they're doing. One of the realizations we've had over the last year and a half too is people aren't taking CBD for the sake of taking CBD, at least not anymore. I think in 2017 and earlier, it was this cool hip product and people were taking it just to kind of be on that cutting edge. At this point, people are taking CBD because they believe that it works and it can help them. So that's become our mission as a company, just to ultimately deliver the most effective product. And those products all do contain CBD, but how do we get there? And so it's, different blends as well as some of our new delivery methods like liposomes that we're working on.
And have enough CBD in them so it's not like trace amounts, just so you can say, I bought a deodorant. It actually really works. I'm really happy with this deodorant. I always buy 100% natural deodorants, but honest to God, it says there's CBD in my deodorant, and I had to laugh so hard because I'm like, why do my armpits need CBD? Really? It's probably trace amounts just so they can say, like, this is a CBD deodorant. And that's not why I bought it. I mean, there's charcoal and, coconut oil and all kinds of other stuff and baking soda and whatever. And it works. It's one of the best deodorants I've ever used. But just the fact that it has CBD in it just made me chuckle because it's one of those things now, it's gimmicky. You can put a trace amount of CBD in something and then, ooh, it's CBD. We can charge $10 more. But you're not doing trace amounts in these gummies. Like you're trying to get as much CBD as possible into them.
That's correct. Yeah. And that's, something that, we just take that stuff for granted, but it is worth highlighting because there is just a wide variety of CBD products on the market. So our gummies, as an example, have 25 milligrams of CBD per gummy. Most gummy or CBD gummies on the market usually have 5 to 10 milligrams. So we're anywhere from 5 to 2.5 times stronger from a gummy standpoint. And that just goes back to our belief in looking at the clinical data where really at a minimum, if you're ingesting CBD, you're starting to see effects in that kind of 15 milligram per serving and kind of going up from there. So, a 5 or 10 milligram gummy is great. I think that's a good place to start, but we are very scientifically driven. And so we want to make sure that we're putting efficacious amounts of CBD in all of our products.
Speaking of scientifically driven, have you guys participated in any studies or any scientific papers? Has there been anything new in the last year and a half in terms of the science?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's something that we're actually very proud of. We just finished a study that's in peer review right now with the Baylor College of Medicine. And it was a combined study with Baylor as well as some local vets in Houston. And what we were studying was the effect of CBD, both in a naked format or the way that it's taken now, as well as a liposomal format, which we can talk about more. And we compared the efficacy versus obviously a control. So it was a 5-arm placebo, double-blind placebo-controlled study. And we were taking senior dogs that had not found any benefit from traditional arthritis medication, and their owners volunteered to participate in that study. So we weren't locking the dogs up. They went home with the owners every night. I think that I was talking with the marketing team. They said, you need to make sure that when you talk about this, that you clarify that this was not an animal study where
PETA
they're
would
locked
be
up.
knocking on your door so hard. I love that. When you said vets, I thought you meant veterans, but you actually meant the doctors, like veterinarians.
Yes.
That's another thing you definitely want to clarify, because I'm like, oh, the vets, they would really like this, coming back from war and having post-traumatic stress and then being given liposomal CBD and seeing how it affects them. But okay, so this is pain in dogs, which I find funny that we have to do a double-blind placebo study, because it's not like the dog knows whether we're giving it olive oil extract or CBD. Like, the dog doesn't know. But this is just going to prove even more that it works. So how would they measure pain in dogs? They're not limping, they're not yelping, they're able to walk and run. Like, how did they measure the effects of CBD on these dogs, these senior dogs with arthritis?
Well, that's a great point. Yeah. So the reason the double blind was required was because we used something called the Helsinki Pain Index, which is I think internationally recognized way of scoring animal behavior, specifically to dogs. And like you said, it ties to their gait, how quickly they can go from sitting to standing and then standing to laying down, and just is kind of a qualitative score. And so that double blind placebo controlled is really important because, one, we don't want the vets to necessarily know which dog is receiving the CBD or not CBD, but also for the owners as well, because, everyone, if you've got an animal or a pet that's in suffering, everyone, that's like, it kind of breaks your heart. So you're really looking for any glimmer of hope. And so, maybe they get up a little bit faster than they usually do. And you're like, oh my God, it's working. Like, this is it. And so it was very important for us just to make sure that it was completely double blinded, so that there wasn't any way of misconstruing the data, because it was a qualitative as opposed to a quantitative scoring system. And so we were looking at, like I said, how they were getting up and how they were moving. What was really exciting was in the arm of the study where we were giving, these were larger dogs, so 80-pound dogs. We were giving them 50 milligrams a day. And what we were doing was also looking at their liver, profile to make sure that there weren't any elevated liver enzymes, as well as looking at their red and white blood cell counts, and as well as kidney analysis, just to make sure that there was, minimal side effects, if not any side effects. And in that one arm, 80% of the dogs saw a 50% improvement or more. And this was on a 30-day study, which for us, I think anyone that's familiar with clinical trials or any type of, kind of medical research, 30 days is lightning fast. And so to see that type of result in 30 days, then we did a follow-on study 30 days after they completed the treatment, just to see how quickly they would revert back to their previous symptoms. It was really encouraging to see. So that study is in peer review. And what was also, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, okay, so to clarify, how many dogs were in the study?
So there were 25 dogs total. So we had 5 dogs in each arm.
Okay. And 80, when you said each arm, there was a placebo. So 5 dogs were not getting anything.
Correct. 5 dogs were in the control. 5 dogs were in the 20 milligrams of regular CBD oil, 50 milligrams of, and then the third group was 50 milligrams. And then we did 20 milligrams of our liposomal delivery, and then 50 milligrams of our liposomal delivery. And so there was 5, which is not a very large number. And this is, granted a preliminary study, but it was powered enough where we could see statistically significant results.
80% of the dogs that received the CBD saw a 50% improvement. Was there a big difference in dose, or did they across the board, no matter what the dose was, see a improvement?
They did. So the 20 milligrams, the one group that received CBD that saw an improvement, but not a significant improvement, was the 20 milligrams of CBD oil, so non-encapsulated in a liposome. And, I think the one, kind of comment that we have to make on that is, obviously these were larger dogs. So the average weight was 80 pounds. So, think of like big labs. And so one, it was just, was that enough CBD for them to be effective? And two, these were, like I said, severely arthritic dogs that, I don't think were necessarily having the run of a mill arthritis or kind of just age-related conditions. But in that 50 milligram arm of just receiving plain CBD oil, so just our Medterra pet CBD oil, 50 milligrams a day, so 25 in the morning and then 25 at night, that's where that 80% saw a 50% improvement or more. And that's something that I'd be happy to share as, like I said, it's in peer review right now, and we are hoping to publish in the next month or so, so we're excited about that.
Very cool. That's great. And so you followed up a month later. How were the dogs doing?
Yeah, so a month later, it was, I think, a little bittersweet. So for the dogs that were receiving just the regular CBD oil, it was kind of this little heartbreaking, because the owners were like, I need to put them back on CBD as quickly as possible. And the dogs were obviously not very happy from seeing a huge reduction in their symptoms to now all of a sudden kind of reverting back over the course of really 15 to 20 days to start kind of showing the same symptoms that they were having prior to starting the study. So all of the dogs that completed the study, though, are now receiving free Medterra CBD for life. So it was, I guess, a tough 30-day period after the study, but now they're all receiving their CBD and they're all taking it. What was really fascinating for us, and this is what's leading us to do some additional studies and actually talking about vets in the sense of veterans, the liposomal delivery, which is a way of encapsulating the CBD so that it one becomes hydrophilic and non-hydrophobic, but also dramatically increases the bioavailability as well as the length of time that it is, biologically active in the blood. We were seeing 30 days after still some of the symptoms coming back, but significantly reduced. And that was very encouraging. And, I think I was joking with someone said, I don't know if that's a great product for you guys to be selling if you're going to put yourselves out of business. But look, at the end of the day, we really, we truly believe, if we're helping people and animals, then ultimately we're going to have a strong company. So, if we ultimately can help them take less CBD down the road, then that's great, because that means they're seeing less symptoms.
I think it's fantastic. You make a quality CBD product that ends up making it so that people need to take less and it lasts longer. Sure, they'll buy less from you, but you'll get more customers. And your goal has always been to help as many people as possible and to make a high quality product that is holistic, that is, healthy and healing. So, I mean, that just, you're on par with your mission statement. You're not looking to try to get as much money out of everyone as possible. You're trying to really help them. And if you can make a very effective CBD product, then you actually would rise above the rest. So I love that you're putting the effort and the money into all the science around it, which is what you talked about also in episode 300. Really interesting, and I love that those dogs are on Medterra CBD for the rest of their life. I thought that was really cool. Why does CBD help to reduce pain, especially in a instance where maybe it's bone on bone, and you're not looking? Obviously CBD is not reversing arthritis, but it is significantly helping with pain. Is it that CBD blocks pain receptors, decreases inflammation? Like, do you know scientifically why CBD helps so much with pain?
We've got a couple, I shouldn't say guesses because I think it's a little more educated than a guess, but that's part of the ongoing research. But what we're seeing is a couple things, and this is done with some of the lab work that we've partnered with Baylor to do. One, we're seeing CBD actually bind directly to the neutrophils, and so usually in cases where you've got systemic arthritis, you've got overactive neutrophils that are part of our immune system that, if operating and working properly, these neutrophils are helping kind of combat any foreign particles that are entering, or foreign, bacteria or viruses entering the body. And so, but if you have an overactive neutrophil that's basically attacking nearby cells that aren't bad and they're, native to the body, then that's a huge issue. And so what we're seeing is CBD actually binding to these neutrophils and turning that activity down. And so that is one going to just help arthritis in general, because that can be a cause of arthritis. And the second part of it is to just the actual inflammation around the body. And so we do have, studies showing that CBD can turn down inflammation through a variety of methods in the body, both applied, both topically and ingested. So one of the things I think we talked about in episode 300 was, if we look at just the human conditions that people are afflicted with, a vast majority of them have some tie into inflammation, whether that's a GI issue, a dermatitis issue. And so if you can address just the root cause of that inflammation, then you're going to ultimately kind of see that benefit. But the actual mechanism and the pathway forward is really, I think, actually under scrutiny right now. A lot of people have thought, and this is, kind of new to the industry, okay, you've got this endocannabinoid system, and that CBD binds to CB1 and CB2 receptors, and that's how it operates. And we're seeing, yes, that is part of the pathway for CBD to interact with the body. But like I said, you're seeing CBD also bind with other parts of the body that aren't tied directly to the endocannabinoid system. And so it's almost kind of creating a more holistic effect than what we thought. And so, the endocannabinoid system, it was really discovered and started being researched in the early 90s. So to think that there weren't going to be any revisions or, new understandings on how it would work, I think was, a little misguided or maybe too optimistic. But yeah, we're starting to find that out, and that's exciting for us, right? Where, you have CBD that's actually binding to serotonin receptors in the brain, right? It's not going through a CB1 receptor and then activating some type of cascade that then affects our serotonin levels. It's actually just binding to the serotonin receptor in the cell. And so that's exciting for us. And I think it's just kind of hinting at the potential of both CBD, but just all of these cannabinoids that we're now looking at and starting to evaluate.
You mentioned that CBD, they're seeing now that it binds to neutrophils. That's part of the immune system. Are there studies that show that CBD helps us to combat bacteria or viruses?
Yeah, I think that's a great question as of late. I think CBD, and just like you talked about your deodorant that has CBD in it, and, what is the actual justified use? CBD, I think, can be very helpful in helping our immune system from a variety of ways, but not necessarily directly, in the sense that if we look at CBD and its ability, one, I think, to help people reduce any type of stress or, potentially help with anxiety, those are both causes of immune system degradation. If you're overly stressed, if you're not sleeping well, then your immune system is going to start performing poorly. And so CBD, I think, has an immediate opportunity to be beneficial to the immune system through those pathways of just kind of helping you be overall healthy. Medterra right now, we actually are developing, and we're going to be launching this shortly, a immunity tincture. And so it has CBD in it because of those properties that I just described, but it also has echinacea and elderberry in it to directly act on the immune system, to boost the immune system. So, it kind of goes back to that mission of ours where we want to use CBD, where CBD is very important to us, but we're also not ignorant to the other ingredients that we could potentially include to get this more holistic, more ultimately efficacious product.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is one cannabinoid, though, I've heard CBG as an example that may have some antibacterial and antiviral effects. I think there's a lot more work that needs to be done on that, but that is really interesting to see that there is one cannabinoid specifically that has shown some antibacterial properties, which is, I think, exciting.
Now, back when I interviewed you in episode 300, your CBD has been filtered so that there's no other cannabinoids. There's no other what's the word? The particles from the cannabis plant or the hemp plant.
Yeah, cannabinoids.
So there's the terpenes and all that stuff. It's not in there. It's only CBD, and that's great for like postal workers and flight attendants and people that have to, or policemen and people that have to take drug tests. Or construction workers. They have to take drug tests. I remember my husband was a foreman union carpenter for 20 years, and there was drug testing, and when CBD came on the market, he was worried about taking it, and he wanted to try the CBD, which doesn't get you high. Kids can take it safely, like you said, pets can take it safely. It's not a drug. It's not a street drug. It's not going to get you high. And he really wanted to take it, but at the same time, there wasn't any CBD that would any CBD product that would say this is not going to trigger a drug test. And if he were to, when he was a foreman union carpenter, if he were to have an accident, let's say like cut himself, they immediately require, if you have any accident on the job, they immediately require you to get a drug test. And so I just remember his conflict because he really believed in all the information coming out and really wanted to try it. He had always had like anxiety, and he was looking for more natural ways of handling it. But then, of course, the anxiety of, well, if I take this CBD, and what if I have to do a drug test, and what if it shows up positive? And so that would give him anxiety. So he was really just stuck in a hard place. And whereas you've solved this problem that a policeman can take your CBD and know that it's not going to trigger a drug test because it's been isolated away from all the other elements of the plant that might trigger the test. Now, when we did speak in episode 300, we talked about all the medicinal benefits that are in the plant itself, because aside from THC and THCA, which is the acidic, it's the acidic form before it's been heated, doesn't get you high, but it has medicinal properties. And there are so many other cannabinoids in the cannabis and in the hemp plant that don't get you high if processed properly, and that are medicinal and so healthy. So there's now companies that want to make whole plant medicines. You were looking into that back then. In the last year and a half, have you made any headway, or have you decided against it?
Absolutely, yeah. And to all those points that Ashley you just made, one was a recognition. I think even when we started Medterra, there was this idea that when we looked at the medical research, there was so much justification for having a CBD isolate because all of the medical research specifically to CBD was done on an isolate as opposed to a full spectrum product. And so we felt confident that it was something that we could sell and, feel like we were actually providing benefit. But even since the beginning of Medterra, we never were wanting to dismiss the other properties of these cannabinoids because, while CBD could really do a lot of the heavy lifting, that's, I think it would be, kind of crazy to think that other parts of the plant couldn't be beneficial. We just talked about CBG potentially having some antibacterial or antiviral effects. And so to your point, one of the things that we had been exploring was this broad spectrum component. As a company, Medterra really will never sell a product that has THC in it, but to your point, maybe there's a way of including other parts of the plant, like the terpenes and the flavonoids and the other cannabinoids besides THC, to get more of a, kind of a holistic, encompassing effect. And so we have actually recently launched a broad spectrum product, and it's something that we're really proud of because we've been working on it for a while. There's a lot of broad spectrum products out there, and some are really good. So I want to make sure I clarify that we don't only have the good one, but a lot of broad spectrum products use a manufacturing method very similar to ours to produce our isolate. And the way that they get rid of the THC is by just simply adding more and more isolate back into the full spectrum blend. And if you add enough isolate into your full spectrum blend, that might be, let's say 60% CBD and has 3% THC, right when it leaves, obviously the distillation, and you just continually, kind of bombard it with more and more isolate, then eventually you're going to get to the THC level will be to a non-detect amount, which is great. You now may not be free of THC, but you've got it at such a low level that people shouldn't be concerned. The downside is that you've basically also diluted everything else out of that full spectrum blend except for the CBD. So now you're kind of just selling hemp flavored isolate, which I think is a disservice to people, right?
And a lot of companies are doing that. You go to the drugstore or you buy online, a lot of companies, that's what you're getting.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's unfortunate. And so, just like when we were talking about, when we last spoke, if there's any time you have any concern, any reputable CBD company should be able, one, they should have it on their website, but two, if you call into their customer service line or send them an email, should be able to provide any COA from any batch that you've purchased. And so you can quickly ascertain, okay, are they doing this hemp flavored isolate where they're just diluting everything out? And you'll know because you'll see, CBD concentration really high, and then everything else will be non-detect, which, like I said, doesn't necessarily do you any good. You should just buy CBD isolate. It's going to be cheaper. With that being said, there has been some advances in the actual processing. And through this process of using chromatography, where we're able to selectively isolate out a compound. So instead of saying, look, we're going to isolate for CBD and leave everything else behind, what we're going to do is actually take this entire full spectrum blend and just pull out the THC. And so you can do that through a process called chromatography. Even when we talked last time, it largely wasn't scalable for the CBD industry. So you could produce maybe 2 or 4 kilos at a time, or even the best labs. And so if you're trying to put that on a national level, that's just not going to scale. But some of the more recent advances have really allowed that to scale. And you've got a lot of labs that are now operating at a much larger level. And so now that we are confident that it is a true broad spectrum product, we've actually brought it to market. And our target for these broad spectrum products is to really have anywhere from 10 to 20 to 1 CBD to minor cannabinoid ratio. So it is meaningful. It's still very largely a CBD product, but you have meaningful amounts of CBG and CBC and CBN all showing up on the COA, not only in the bulk format, but in the actual finished product format, so that consumers are actually getting that benefit. And so that's been great for us because it's really allowed us to branch out. And, the broad spectrum products have quickly become a favorite of a lot of our customers where, they love the CBD products, but, getting those extra cannabinoids in there certainly isn't hurting them. And for a lot, it's helping them. So that's been exciting for us.
Yeah, no kidding. How does, what was the process? Chromatography? How does that work?
Yep. So you basically, knowing that you've got different molecular weights for all the cannabinoids, and part of the issue of isolating them out, and this is why it hasn't been largely scalable, is because the molecular weights are so similar, right? The compounds themselves are just very similar. It's very difficult to isolate. And so using a chromatography, you basically create these, call it chemical filters or chemical gradients, that allow basically the different densities of the compounds to sift through this filter. And so what it creates is this kind of like, almost imagine a flowing tap, right? This for illustrative purposes, of you put the material through in the beginning, and then what comes out first will be, let's say, CBD. And then as you go to a different molecular weight, then it's CBG. And then a different molecular weight, it'll be CBN. And then the next molecular weight that passes through the filter based on the different densities will be THC. And so you just know, okay, look, based on what's coming through and you're testing, you're kind of pulling samples. Okay, this is the THC part of it, and we need to just kind of discard that, and then we can continue to let the rest of the flavonoids and terpenes flow through. And so they each come out individually, and then you recombine them at the end. And so it basically will reconstitute that full spectrum blend just without the THC.
Fascinating. Do they take the THC and go like sell it as a concentrate?
I can't tell you how many times I've got that question. We were just talking with one of our distributors, and they said, just let me know as a friend where they discard it. No, they destroy it, just part of, the federal regulations, and,
Oh man, they could make such a great, I don't know. I'm just thinking, I live in Washington and they sell it, they sell stuff here, right, legally. And I would just be like, hey, that's like a byproduct that they could turn around and sell to people that want it. But you know what? I mean, and I don't partake anymore. I'm from Canada, and that's just like we all Canadians kind of in the 90s grew up on pot. But I prefer to be sober. I actually prefer, I don't drink alcohol, and I prefer to just have my wits about me. And but I'm not against anyone that chooses to partake. It's just I like being in my body. I'm a Pisces, and I'm so ungrounded and so like in the ether as it is. I like kind of like just like to be grounded as much as possible, and have my wits about me. But I see that it's in Washington. I'm in Washington State. People partake. And I think it's a healthier alternative than drinking alcohol, to be honest. People don't smoke a joint and then like start a bar fight and kill people. They usually just chill out. Whereas alcohol tends to cause more accidents and more violence in general. So your product does not contain anything that would make someone high. Can children take it? Or is there a warning that children aren't allowed to take it? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. We do have parents buying it for their children and taking, and giving it to their children. We've had a couple parents say that it's helping their child focus more, or be less hyperactive. So children are taking it, and I think it's just like anything when you're talking about children. Or pregnant women or any of that, it's just making sure that whatever your primary care physician or anyone that has some medical experience, to just make sure that they're in the loop. There haven't been a lot of studies just because like CBD is so new. We've talked about, there is an endocannabinoid system in every mammal. So, whether you're a newborn or you're 80 years old, CBD has the ability to interact with your body, however it may do that. But, I think it's just, especially with really young children, I think as children kind of get into their teens, then, you don't have as much concern, but that's just something that you want to watch very carefully. And, you've got children that are obviously taking it for the treatment of epilepsy, right, with Epidiolex. And so they've done a lot of safety studies on these children that, looking at their liver and making sure that it wasn't toxic to their liver in really high doses. So, there doesn't seem to be a big safety concern, but at the same time, I think anytime you're giving something to your children, you've got to make sure you're really educated and if you've got any
Yep.
questions, then, we're here to help, and certainly your physician should be able to help guide that conversation.
Absolutely. That makes so much sense. I know of a few epileptic children who have completely been able to, and these were the ones that weren't responding to drugs, and using cannabis, using CBD, they were able to reduce, and in one instance, one person completely eliminated their seizures. And that's
Wow.
very interesting. I've had several doctors on the show talk about this, that our body has the endocannabinoid system. We have receptors for cannabinoids, and our body makes cannabinoids. So essentially our body's like making CBD. Um, but because we're nutrient deficient, so let's say omega-3s, right? Whatever fatty acids our body uses to make these endocannabinoids, when we are deficient in certain healthy fats, our body can't make enough of it. And then we become deficient in them. And then when we take an external CBD, it is like filling the nutrient deficiency. So it's a nutrient we're deficient in. And those people that gain great benefits, so they take the CBD and they notice that they're happier, calmer, significantly less anxiety, they're able to focus, that they're have better sleep, that they're in less pain. Those people had nutrient deficiencies in fatty acids to the point where their body wasn't making their own endocannabinoid system was deficient, and so now they're fulfilling it. And some people take CBD and they don't notice anything. Well, maybe they don't have anxiety and they don't have pain and they don't have problems sleeping, but they were kind of surprised. Hey, I took it, I didn't notice anything. Well, maybe they're not deficient, and so they took it, but the CBD just didn't need to fulfill. There was no need for there was no nutrient deficiency for that person. And so it's not that CBD doesn't work. It's that it really works for people who are nutrient deficient, and many people are. Many people don't have enough of those healthy fatty acids because we're eating the wrong fats. We're eating polyunsaturated fatty acids, and that's the majority of our diet, especially in the United States. And so we're kind of getting the wrong fats, which are clogging everything up, instead of the right fats that we can use, that our body can use to fulfill the endocannabinoid system. So your CBD supplement is literally a supplement that's fulfilling a deficiency, which is what these doctors are saying. And that's really, I find that to be really fascinating, especially when we look and see that like some children react really well to it. Of course, elderly and everywhere in between. This deficiency doesn't discriminate against age, because it's about whether we're consuming, digesting, and absorbing enough nutrients. So this is what these doctors are saying about CBD. And so we can really see it as a nutrient that is necessary for our body, and not something that's recreational or like something just that's cute and fun and oh, that's interesting, but like it's an essential nutrient the body actually needs.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. And I think that's one thing that really has to be communicated, that endocannabinoid system, like you said. I mean, an endocannabinoid, as an example, is anandamide, which is a very similar analog to CBD. So if your body's not producing that, like you said, because you're not getting the right fats in your body, they've linked, omega-3 deficiency with the inability to produce endocannabinoids, as an example, then yeah, you're going to need some type of supplement. And going back to that, I think the earlier point of, if we ultimately sell less CBD because people are healthier, then that's okay, because we're going to get more customers. I don't think the world is going to have a shortage of people that are not nutrient deficient or need to be healthier. But if we can help people on their health and wellness journey get a little bit more healthier, then I think that's awesome. And that's just a huge win for us as a company. And we're going to start understanding that even more as we do more research. And like everything in the body, it's never black or white. It's always, something's connected to another thing. And there's never a one fix all. You could take a ton of CBD, but if you're sleeping 2 hours a night, like, you're probably not going to be a very healthy person, right? And, or you sleep 8 hours a night and you eat McDonald's for lunch every day, it's all about balance and making sure that you're in touch with your body. And I love like what you said about just being grounded in general, because I think when people have more self-awareness of what's going on in their body, then they can find even more effective treatments because they know exactly what issue they need to address.
Wonderful. So I mean, it has been about a year and a half, and you've talked about some exciting things. Is there anything in the CBD industry that's come out that really surprised you? Like, because you have been so deep in this information, has anything surprised you recently about CBD? Any new studies that have shocked you?
New studies that shocked me. Let me think on that. I think one, like we talked about this, I think what we understand of the endocannabinoid system is going to be turned on its head in a little bit at least. And that's not for the worse. I think that's just us understanding it better. And the endocannabinoid system is going to continue to be very important. But just knowing that CBD isn't limited to just these CB1 and CB2 receptors, I think is relatively groundbreaking for scientists because they've been so closely looking at CB1 and CB2 receptors. I think what's going to be really groundbreaking, and maybe we talk in a year and a half, or hopefully it's much sooner, but it's these other cannabinoids that are now coming to light and they're becoming feasible to put into products. Early studies of CBG I thought were pretty groundbreaking and showing that it could be antibacterial, and that it's actually helping. I saw some studies out of the UK that it shows that it's actually helping with cancer. And so, that's like really, I think on the forefront, and everyone kind of has this sneaking suspicion that we're just scratching the surface, and it's great to see those finally come to light. I think shocking just in the CBD world in general, I think what we're seeing is the FDA finally coming on board. I think we were kind of shocked by how long it took the FDA. And, it's one of those things where I totally respect what the FDA is doing. They need to do it in a systematic way so that, they're not doing it incorrectly or leaving any loopholes. But, the longer they take to act, the more time, unscrupulous companies can exist, right? We're very careful while talking about medical claims and making sure that we have our products manufactured correctly. And it's hard to, kind of continue to stay and compete and do well when you have some guy that's mixing it up in his garage and he's saying that it's, going to be the end all be all. And Medterra is doing fine, but it's just, I think that has been kind of shocking because ultimately, the FDA, I think, can do a lot of good by being very clear on the future guidelines of CBD and really forcing the bad actors to either clean up their act or get out of the industry.
Yeah, we have to be careful about the claims that these companies make. It's kind of the wild, wild west, isn't it? And we also we want good regulations, but at the same time, the FDA is a revolving door for pharmaceutical companies, and they're threatened by CBD because it's cutting into their profits, because people are getting off of pain meds or reducing pain meds, and that reduces their profits. So I'm always leery. On one hand, we want the FDA to protect us, but on the other hand, we don't want them to take away our right to access it. That's why the FDA does not regulate supplements. There are laws, like you can't make health claims. I can't say buy my vitamin C, it cures XYZ disease. You can't make health claims and make a profit off of something. If I was a doctor, I could say vitamin C cures scurvy, and that would be legal, but I couldn't say my vitamin C brand cures scurvy, you should buy it. And so there's laws around health claims and selling supplements, but as far as if the FDA regulated the supplement industry, they would do so in order to shut down many of the good companies that are out there, because and this is just getting into, we need the Goldilocks. We need the balance. We need to be able to have good regulations, like you said, get the bad actors to clean up or get out. But I'm always just cautious because CBD is such a good product at reducing pain, it is cutting into the profits of the pharmaceutical industry. And so I don't want them to start regulating it to the point where it's going to shut down good companies like you. Now, your company could lobby. Have you considered hiring some lobbyists to help Medterra and help all the whole CBD industry, or is it to the point where we don't need to lobby?
No, there definitely need political action. Medterra, since really our existence, we've been a part of the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, and this year we actually just joined the executive board of the U.S. Hemp Roundtable. So
Nice.
it's a really, it's a great advocacy group that works directly with politicians, and it's so interesting with politics being so polarizing. You say, we are as a group working closely with Senator McConnell's office, and also, working with Senator Schumer's office, and depending on which side of the aisle you lean towards, one of those names might, send chills up your spine. But
you need both sides to be on your side. It's,
that's it.
you just need everyone to be on the side of CBD. It doesn't matter. You just need all of them. Get as many of them as possible.
That's exactly it. And they are, that's what's so, I guess it's maybe a little biased, but, I feel like the politicians in my mind are, redeeming themselves, because, there's this idea, I think, in America that some of the politicians can be very self-serving and or just really only aligned with the party and not necessarily with, putting American citizens' interest first. And them both working with each other kind of shows that, look, they are working towards a greater good. And, the new FDA commissioner even said, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, said, I would be a fool to think that I could, outlaw CBD. So we know what the future holds. We just don't know when. And I think the first step that's going to happen, and probably sometime this summer, Congress is looking to pass a bill that will include language, mandating that CBD is a dietary supplement,
Nice.
and kind of forcing it. Yeah, so we think that's going to happen in the summer. With obviously an election year, as well as obviously this international health crisis that we're all facing. There's some TBD on that, but ultimately that will pass. And, the FDA, like we said, is I think in favor of making CBD a dietary supplement. They just don't want to create a policy. One of the issues is this will be the first time that something has existed as a pharmaceutical product that then is now going to be sold as a dietary supplement.
Wow.
And, the reason this was set was in 2014, GW Pharma, right when it became legal, filed, their IND for Epidiolex. And so it became a pharmaceutical off the bat before anyone could even sell CBD as a dietary supplement like they're selling it now. And so the FDA does have some concern, not about CBD, but what other pharmaceutical drugs are now going to start being marketed as a dietary supplement, or what pressure are they going to face for other compounds not even related to CBD because of the precedent that they've set. So
Oy.
I don't envy their job. And, I know people have, kind of this love-hate thing with the FDA.
Yeah.
But I do believe that they are acting really in the best intention of making CBD as a dietary supplement. I think they're on board with that, allowing there to be some clear guidelines to kind of remove those bad actors, and then just kind of freeing up, kind of these questions and concerns. You've got retailers like we work with, as an example, Albertsons is selling ingestible CBD products, and other retailers like CVS and Walgreens that we work with only carry the topical products because they're worried about carrying the ingestible products. And so there's just this confusion that I think ultimately is going to get cleared up. And in the meantime, what we're also working on that pharmaceutical front, and, talking about veterans, we actually are working on developing, prescription or pharmaceutical products. We're not using synthetic, compounds. We're using CBD, and we're encapsulating in our liposomal format, which we have a patent around. And so that will be great, because then we can actually allow doctors to prescribe and say, if the studies go well, and we're talking a couple years now, but you can take this product for X condition. And, I think that also gives it a little bit more legitimacy as well.
So what you're saying is that your liposomal CBD, which is not synthetic, you're working towards having it be a prescription, which would be paid for then by their health insurance. And it wouldn't be a drug. It's not synthetic. It's still naturally derived. And yet it would be a prescription, which would be amazing and be very helpful, especially for veterans and servicemen and women, and like you said, the elderly or who are on a fixed income, and or the disabled who are on a fixed income, that it could be paid for by the insurance companies, and the insurance companies would be happy because there's so much evidence that good quality CBD, especially liposomal, good quality CBD helps people reduce their need for pain medications, which would actually save these companies money. And these pain medications come with a host of side effects that then would cause the insurance companies to have to shell out more money. And so they'd be saving money by going the more natural route, by paying for the prescription of liposomal CBD. So that's really exciting. When will we be able to access your liposomal CBD? When will we be able to buy some? Is there a date you have in mind for when it'll be available to purchase?
Yes, so we will be launching it. So one of the new lines that we're launching is our Medterra clinical line. So as a company, we've worked very closely with independent pharmacists across the country, really since the beginning of Medterra, and they've been a huge part of our business. And so we've actually developed what we call our Medterra clinical line. And so they are higher concentrations of our existing products as well as some new blends. And that will be the first line to receive our liposomal products. So we're developing a sleep product that has liposomal CBD, but also has liposomal melatonin, which is also not very bioavailable. And so we can dramatically reduce the amount of melatonin that we're putting in it because it is in a liposomal, more bioavailable format, which is just better for you. And then we're also doing a wellness liposomal product that will have turmeric and ginger in a liposomal encapsulation, which turmeric, as an example, is has a very hard time being absorbed by the body. So those are launching in June, so this summer, in independent pharmacies, and then we're going to be ultimately releasing those liposomal formats in the third quarter for just the entire company, so people can buy that online as well. So third quarter, really excited about it.
Right. Will you have a list of the independent pharmacies that we can drive to and pick up your liposomal products if we're support the local companies, or we just want to receive it faster? Or will you have a list on your website?
Absolutely. Yep.
Cool.
Yep. We have a store locator, and we're actually updating the store locator now that we've got these different lines and products. So you'll be able to search on the store locator. This is probably next, I'm going to say 2 weeks, that I usually overpromise on website development.
All your employees are at home, so they should be even more productive. That's
true.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah.
I will let them know that. But in the next month or so, you'll be able to actually filter the store locator and say, hey, look, I'm looking for this specific. I live here and I want to buy this Medterra product. Nice. And they can validate, if that store carries it, because we work with actually at this point over 15,000 retailers throughout the U.S. And so,
cool.
Not all of them carry all of our products.
Right.
And so it's just helpful for consumers to figure out, what they want. And we love working with the retailers because online is great. It's a great business. It's important to us as a company, but a lot of people, when they want their CBD, they want it now. And so being able to get it and access it at a retailer relatively quickly is important. And so we're thrilled with our retail footprint that we've developed.
Nice. And you know what? If listeners want to stay at home and get the package shipped to them, they're going to get 15% off by using coupon code LTH. They're not going to get that 50%. They can't walk to the pharmacy and say coupon code
That's
LTH,
true.
Please. So they're going to get 15% off, and they get to stay at home and chill, Netflix and chill, and wait for their CBD to arrive. Coupon code LTH, 15% off on your website, medterracbd.com, or they can go to your website and check out the pharmacy near them. so that they can go there. Especially, I'm so excited about the liposomal CBD. That sounds amazing. Your turmeric, will it have black pepper in it to activate the turmeric?
So that's the thing. So it won't because it's in the liposomal format. The black pepper is really helpful in increasing absorption because it slows down the
Mm.
digestion. But because it's actually being not absorbed, through the stomach, and it's actually hydrophilic, you don't need the black pepper for the
Wow.
turmeric to be very bioavailable in a liposome.
That's really cool. It helps people because there's some people that are really sensitive to black pepper, and so that's going to be great for them.
Yeah, we're really excited. It's so I've got some prototypes, and it's my favorite Medterra product. Not
Really?
to rub it in for anyone that can't get it yet, but I think
Well,
people are going to be really excited about it.
and this episode will be. I've got episodes I published 4 years ago that people still listen to. So someone might be listening to this back, in a few months, and they'll be like, okay, I'm just going to go to medterracbd.com and buy my, what's it going to be called? The turmeric CBD liposomal thing.
You know what? We've got a working name right now, but we're calling it our wellness capsule.
I love it. I love it. Wellness
yeah.
capsule. And that is so great for decreasing inflammation. That's great for autoimmune. That's great for obviously pain. So turmeric is just also, turmeric is anti-cancer because it's a wonderful it mops up those free radicals. So you said that there was turmeric in it and obviously liposomal CBD, and what was the other thing that's in it? Oh,
Ginger.
Ginger. That's right. Wonderful. Those took, oh man, what a powerful combination. I love how herbs create, when you combine certain herbs, it creates a synergy, like 1 + 1 = 10. It creates a synergistic effect, and they, individually are good, but combined, they're amazing. And, ginger turmeric is amazing together. And I'm really interesting to see how CBD and those two play off of each other while giving, healing effects to the body. So why you're not deficient in CBD, so you don't like see this huge difference like some people do when they start taking it, because obviously you take your products. Why do you love the liposomal wellness capsule, the liposomal ginger turmeric CBD? Why do you love that? What do you notice personally in your body?
Yeah, it's a great question. So one, I think it's great because, if you're taking CBD, it's just as a liposome, it makes it more bioavailable. So you're just going to get more bang for your buck with the CBD. So I think that's just, that's a preferred format if available. But the ginger and the turmeric, same thing. I used to take turmeric capsules separate of, my Medterra products and ginger. And so just having that all in one is great. But they're really, liposomes are a tough thing to manufacture. So when we first start, we've been working on this at this point probably for 13 or 14 months now. And liposomes, when you have things that are not very bioavailable, can be tough. Like making a liposomal vitamin C is actually pretty straightforward, right? Like there's a lot of it, but you've got something that's incredibly hydrophilic, and you put it right in the center of the liposome, and you don't have to kind of wedge it in between the phospholipid bilayer, and you're good to go. But when you start kind of mixing with like ginger, which we use gingerol, which is the active form of the ginger, or turmeric as an example, it can start getting a little trickier. And I notice, and there's maybe some placebo effect, but I think I've got it pretty adjusted, that when I take it as a liposome, there's this mood elevation. And if you read a little bit about turmeric as an example, it has been associated with kind of just general feelings of well-being, and can kind of elevate your mood. So one, I love it just because it's ginger and turmeric. Those are very important, and they're very good for your body, and making it more bioavailable is just only going to enhance those effects. Taking care of also the daily CBD that I'm taking, but in addition, also kind of getting this more kind of uplifted mood, which, I think everyone can stand to be a little bit happier. So that's why I like taking it.
Everyone can stand to be a little happier right now. Come on, Jay.
Yeah.
Come on, Jay. Launch it sooner. We need it now. Oh man. So what right now we're all kind of freaking out, isolated at home, getting bored and anxious. What if we could choose one of your products? What would be the best one to choose right now to help us calm down?
The broad spectrum tincture, and the best flavor, in my opinion, is the citrus flavor. So we've got a broad spectrum, both 1,000 and a 2,000 milligram concentration. The 2,000 milligram obviously has more CBD, but also has more of those minor cannabinoids. And we've got a lot of people that have said that it's been very helpful with their stress relief. And, I think that's just giving credit to these other cannabinoids that also are playing their part on the body. So,
Okay, so we get the 2,000, we get one bottle of the 2,000 milligram broad spectrum citrus flavor. We
yep,
get it in the mail, sanitized. You guys are great. And
yep.
and then how much do we take? Is it like a few drops? Is it one dropper full? How much would we take throughout the day? Is it one dose a day? Is it throughout the day? How do we go about taking this? Let's say it's a person of average weight, because does weight matter? Like a 400-pound person versus a 90-pound person?
I think it's one of those things that we were just saying, where it really depends on just kind of the state of your body. We've seen people that are, 250-pound man only needs 25 milligrams of CBD, and you've got a 140-pound woman that may need twice as much. So my recommendation on it is starting with half a serving, so half a ml, half of the dropper. Take it in the morning and just kind of see how you feel. The other cannabinoids, they do seem to have some of a neurological effect as well. And so the one, I think I should say, not complaint, but just kind of what people have said, is that it does help them feel very relaxed. And, depending on what your day looks like, maybe feeling too relaxed is not what you need. So starting with a half of it, and kind of seeing how your body reacts to it, and then maybe taking the other half at night, and just trying that for the first couple of days and then going from there.
Well,
and some people take it as needed.
a lot of us are stuck at home with our kids that we love dearly, that are driving us up the wall. And, and we really don't need to start drinking wine at 9 in the morning, which a lot of people are sharing pictures of their alcoholic drinks on Facebook. My friend is stuck. He's a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Him and I were best friends in junior high, and he lives in a condo in Toronto, and he is isolated in his condo. So he started to make, it's the best. It's so hilarious. He started to make exercise videos with wine bottles. And so his pictures or videos of clips of him throughout his condo, like doing squats and bicep curls with wine bottles. And then other people have joined him. And so there's just like this group of people that are all doing like wine workouts, where they're just lifting wine. They're not like working out, drinking the wine, but just making fun of the fact that everyone is freaking out and like, I saw someone posted in a homeschooling group, like, it's 10 a.m. is now. Can I pop the bottle of wine now? Like, so people are just like freaking out, especially if they've never homeschooled before. We've been homeschooling our son, who's almost 5, and it can get very stressful. So I can imagine if families have multiple children, they're looking to just calm their nerves, and this sounds like a great, so the full spectrum citrus flavor sounds like a great way to calm the nerves. I would say get the 2,000 milligram tincture, because you don't know if you need the more concentrated or the less concentrated. If you get the stronger one, then you can always just take less of it. But if you get the weaker one, you might run out sooner if you needed a stronger dose. So does that sound like a good recommendation?
Totally. And you do get a better bang for your buck. So even if you only need a half, it'll last you longer, but it'll also just be a better value for your spend. So
nice. Okay,
yep.
Cool. And use a coupon code LTH, get 15% off. So full spectrum, 2,000 milligram citrus flavor. Let's all go buy that so we can calm down a bit. Take half of a dropper in the morning and see how we fare. And then do we hold it in our mouth for like a few minutes and then swallow, or can we swallow right away? What's the way to like maximize absorption? Should we do it on empty stomach or with food?
So that is, I know there's been a lot of back and forth on that. Is it sublingual? We haven't seen too many studies that have actually confirmed in an oil format, that it's able to kind of penetrate in the mouth. And so, I always, kind of wash it around my mouth for, like 10, 15 seconds, but ultimately swallow it. And we do recommend that people take it with some food because, if you do have some food in your stomach, it just helps it kind of get to the liver and not as beat up. But people have seen a lot of results taking it on an empty stomach. So it's pretty resilient once consumed. So
Well, and because it's an oil format, if someone doesn't have their gallbladder, for example, they should take it with some food, and they should take a bile supplement to make sure they're actually emulsifying it so that they can digest and absorb it. So that,
great point.
yeah, because there's some people who, just because they don't have a gallbladder, they don't have the ability to emulsify fat, and so they're not really going to absorb the medicine. And that those people would really benefit from the liposomal CBD, wouldn't they?
They would. Yeah, absolutely. Because
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be processed in the liver, and it doesn't need to be in an oil suspension. So, yep.
Nice. I'm really looking forward to that product coming out. Can't wait for it. Awesome. Well, thank you, Jay, so much for coming on the show and sharing with us the latest. When I knew that the episode 420 was coming up, I said, "Oh man, gotta have Jay back on the show." I'm only gonna do episode 420 once, and it needs to be one about hemp, cannabis. It needs to be one of that. Obviously everyone knows 420 and what that means. So I was so happy that you were isolated at home and had nothing better to do than to be on my show. So that was that was great.
I just love that you thought of me for 420. I
Yeah,
really do
that you were the
appreciate
first name that came to my mind. And I've had other, cannabis and hemp, peep experts, but you probably are the funnest, and also just so interesting, the fact that you're so involved in the science and in the industry, and in the latest part, like the latest coming out of the industry, that you've been on the cutting edge of how to create a full spectrum that is also void of THC, is amazing. That your company is in the light, that you function in the light, right? That you show everyone that you are a company for good and for light, and that you are not one of those shade companies that works in their garage and claims that they cure everything. So, and you're involved in the political side, the science side, the industry side, the production side, the farming side. So you have your fingers in everything, but you also are navigating this crazy, crazy world of COVID-19 with your company, doing it in the best way possible, supporting your employees through this time. Everyone's working from home, and your fulfillment staff is able to take a paid vacation, a staycation. You're able to keep the lights on because you've navigated this and figured out how to still fulfill the orders in a sanitized way to protect the customers. So really, I just love your company. I love the work that you do, and I love that you're functioning in the light and for good. So thank you so much for the mission that you set out only a few years ago. When was it? 2016 that you formed Medterra CBD?
2017.
2017. Oh yeah, it was 2016 that you first started the conversation, because it takes
Yes.
more than a year to get it all up and running. But so it's been, you've been functioning, you've been doing this for a few years, but you've basically now earned your PhD in CBD at this point. So congratulations, you now are a full-fledged PhD. You've in the School of Hard Knocks. You've earned it. But it's been great having you on the show. Thank you so much. And I love your products. My husband and I have really enjoyed your CBD. And we've tried many others, and we really get the quality is there, and we really appreciate that. And of course, my listeners have told me that they really enjoy your products as well. So I'm happy that you give us a 15% off discount. Thank you. Coupon code LTH. And you talked about your conference calls having the dogs in the background. Well, I didn't realize that my cat was locked in our office, and he's meowing. So your dog barked, my cat meowed. We're clearly all at home in under quarantine. It's been so great having you on the show. Thank you so much. Is there anything you'd like to make sure that you say to wrap up today's interview? Is there anything left unsaid?
No, I think we covered it all. Ashley, I really do appreciate the kind words, and it means a lot coming from someone like yourself.
Awesome. Well, Jay, can you just come back on the show every, year and a half or so and update us on the latest in the industry, or if something big comes out, some big science, something like major in the industry that you really want to make sure we know about, please come back on the show. I love to keep all of us, all of the listeners and myself included, up to date on all the really cool information about the CBD industry. So yeah, keep coming back. We'd love to have you, and stay safe, stay sane. We should all, you were just talking about how you've been hiking because there's a hiking trail right behind your house, but you of course stay a safe distance to respect everyone and everyone's health, that you are getting out in nature. If you can, everyone get out in nature as long as you're safe and everyone else is safe. Get out in the sunlight, get out in the open air. Yes, we have a stay-at-home order. That doesn't mean you can't go in your backyard and get some sunlight on your face. We should all remember that for our sanity. We need to take deep breaths. We need to do things to calm our nervous system, like taking CBD or putting our feet in the grass and our face in the sun and taking some deep breaths. We're all going to get through this, and we're all going to do it as a globe, as the whole earth. We're all going to get through this together. And the more that we focus on self-care, to boost our immune system and support our health overall, our mental, emotional, and physical health overall, the sooner we will get through this in the healthiest way possible. I think we need to focus on that, and you've brought up some great ways we can do that today. Thank you so much, Jay, and just stay safe and keep in touch.
Absolutely, will do, Ashley. Thank you so much.
Are you looking to optimize your health? Are you looking to get the best supplements at the lowest price? For high quality supplements and to talk to someone about what supplements are best for you, go to takeyoursupplements.com, and one of our fantastic True Health coaches will help you pick out the right supplements for you that are the highest quality and the best price. That's takeyoursupplements.com. takeyoursupplements.com. That's takeyoursupplements.com. Be sure to ask about free shipping and our awesome referral program.